today with Mike and Adam. Mike and Adam have a fantastic glass studio here in Toledo, Gathered Glass. Will you guys tell us a little bit about how you got into glass?
I grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana. That's where I started blowing glass. I started at a small community center, and then I subsequently went to Bowling Green State University, and that's where I met Adam. And then he asked if I wanted to start a studio in Toledo, so that's how I got here.
Fantastic.
Similar story, the Toledo Museum of, I'm from Toledo, and the Toledo Museum of Art offered glass blowing after school in high school. So I took advantage of that, did it, really liked it, and then made my way to BG as well, where I met Mike and our future state senator.
Yeah, well, Toledo is one of the few places in the country that have a long history of glass. A lot of the students at BG have started at the Toledo Museum, and even before that, we had dozens or even hundreds of glass studios in the area, from right around where Cedar Point is all the way down to just past Kendall. So, how do you feel about being a part of that history?
I think it's awesome. I mean, it's a really cool material, hot material. You work with a team, you work together with people, that's really fun, and we do it in a place that has that history. It's a really special thing, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, what better place than Toledo?
So speaking of teams, that's one of my favorite parts of being a glass blower. It's working with a crew. It's a little bit like dancing. It's a little bit like music. It's timing and cooperation all the way through. How has that changed now that we have to be socially distant?
Yeah, that's a good question. Just being socially distant and being cognizant of what we're cleaning and what tools we're using. Everybody brings their own tools now. We used to have shop tools that everybody would just use. Now all of our workers have their own tools. A lot of bleach, a lot of cleaning, washing hands, and doing the best we can, really.
Yeah, I don't think it's taken anything away from the team aspect, though, because we're all still working together, even though we're a little bit more separate. We're still communicating as much as we can. Maybe a little more verbally because we have to wear masks while we're working, but because before that, a lot of it was body language, so we didn't have to necessarily communicate with words. But it feels, it's not as different as some things can be.
Yeah. Now, how long have you been here?
We've been here for 8 years. Our big push was the Glass Art Society Conference 2012. So that's when we opened up.
That was a fantastic time to open. You got international press in like one weekend. I know that it was a long process from starting the studio to building it to growing your customers and people who collect your work. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, 8 years. It's, I think at this point, maybe I'm just speaking for myself, it feels like the studio is set up the way we really want it to be. It's taken 8 years to get to that point. Just with the gallery space or showroom and then the hot shop and then the studios upstairs. I think it's good though that we went through the transition of getting it to this point slowly, because I don't think we would appreciate it as much as if it was just done and ready to go or walked in the door like this. Yeah, so I think it's nice.
Yeah. Finish the question one more time.
What was it like growing the studio?
Yeah, it's definitely been a learning experience, like Mike said. In a town like Toledo, I hate to say it's really easy or it's really cheap, but those are kind of the words that are coming to mind. It's really easy to manufacture glass. That's why Toledo historically was like the glass city, right? Because it was cheap to manufacture.
So, I've known you for the whole time you've been running this project. I know you've done some exciting stuff regionally. You've done some very good projects with the zoo. Can you tell us about some of the big projects that you've worked on, or even some of the things that you've done that are the most exciting?
I think one of the biggest ones and one of the most exciting ones ones was the first one that we did. We worked with the zoo, the Toledo Zoo, and we specifically made a piece for the aquarium there when they were reworking their entire building for the aquarium. So it's a WPA building that they had the aquarium in, so they couldn't touch the outside of it, but they gutted the inside and restructured everything. And we had the opportunity to go in there and to produce a wall piece that was a map of the oceans. So appropriately, and it was right across. It's right across from the shark tank in there. And that one was 38 feet long by 9 feet tall, and it was a huge project. And we learned quite a bit on that. So I think that was one of my favorites.
I think it's been a really fun, again, almost challenge, figuring out the industry and who's who and who's commissioning these big pieces and who you need to talk to make an application or to propose a project for a corporation. This one time we did a project for a local hotel. And the person who owned the hotel, or the company that owned the hotel, wasn't the company that owned the brand that the hotel was. And the company that owned the brand was the one who contracted the designers and the architects to design the inside of the hotel. So there's so many different parties. And as I learned that kind of the language and the industry a little bit, or as I'm learning that, it's been really cool to figure out who you talk to. So something that led to learning that learning experience led us to like putting our work and our portfolio on different online databases. And some of those databases have become fruitful for us too. Like last year we did a project for Norwegian Cruise Line through some art consultant firm that we found through another firm from that hotel project that we did.
Yeah.
So it's been a fun navigation kind of thing. It's been cool.
And so that's one of the most interesting parts of this for me. You have a local business, which is your studio, and the people making glass here. You have your gallery where people can come see some of the work that you do. But you're also selling your work across the country and around the world. Some of those larger projects end up traveling.
Sure.
Some of the work that you sell goes to galleries all over the country. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so partly thanks to you, Joel, as a mentor for us 5-6 years ago. The wholesale, selling our regular wares and handmade glass products to different galleries, museum stores, shops around the country. That's really been our bread and butter, and it's what allowed us to keep employing younger glass blowers in the area. It's what keeps us doing production and working 5 days a week with these guys and with these men and women who wouldn't have had glass blowing jobs in the area if not for that. So that's kind of what I mean by saying it's easy to make the glass here, but sometimes selling it outside of Toledo is really the best way to really to get income, I guess, revenue.
Yeah.
I think building an online presence, especially now post in a do you say post-pandemic world? Yeah, in a world of pandemic, I think online retail is going to grow even further than it ever was before this. So I think that's our next goal.
Yeah, and you've had to adapt a lot of times to what's happening in the market, what's happening in the community, and what's impressive to me is you all still are continuing to grow. You know, Mike, you were taking me on a tour upstairs to your new gallery space. I'm impressed that you're expanding even in the middle of adjusting to the new economy and the new working situations and exploring new opportunities. That's pretty amazing. And I also want to commend you because you've become a part of the Glass Network. I work with students coming through BG every year, which is great. And they come out, some of them work at the museum, some of them work here. They spend a few years here until they're ready to become professionals on their own. So you're now part of the heritage of the community.
That's really cool. Thank you for saying that.
It's cool. I'm glad you're here. It's a nice opportunity for everyone.
BG and then coming up and, you had your shop in New York and then us kind of doing our thing. It was really cool to see what you went through firsthand.
Yeah.
It's been very eye-opening the last few years.
Would I do it again? Would I do it again?
I think if we had to do it again, we would do it completely different. Obviously,
That's learning. That's growing. That's growing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why I have more of it back in my house now.
Yeah. That's very smart.
Don't be jealous. I'm jealous. Whenever I come visit, I'm like, oh, I miss it.
What else?
I
I hope there was anything.
That feels